That's the problem that we're currently facing because they want to help the students achieve certain skills to move on to another level. They just pass the students. They just let the students move to another level even though there are literacy skills that aren't met yet. NSTP namin, sasakay kami ng jeep. Pero nakarenta yung jeep.
Oo, tas excited sila, no?
Yes!
Oh my gosh, we're gonna ride the jeep.
And I was like, bakit tayo naka-jeep? Nasa Lasal tayo, tapos mag-jeep tayo. Parang, that's my everyday experience. Flight attendant ka, may sugat ka, or may peklat ka, ganyan. I'll never know unless I try.
So, nag-apply ka?
Nag-apply ako. Kapal na mukha ko.
Hindi, kailangan ng ganyan sa buhay. Kailangan ng ganyan sa buhay. Palakasan lang ng loob. So patuloy ang ating celebration of Teachers Month and kompleto na ang ating cast because we had a junior high teacher, senior high teacher at ngayon, ang makakasama natin ay English professor from FEU. Tama? Yes, the very fresh, the very brilliant Miss Charinna Lee.
Hey! Hi guys! Ito pala. Hi everyone.
Hi! Thank you so much and sinamahan mo kami, pinaunlakan ang aming invitation.
Ikinararangal ko. Yes!
Lumali, wala.
I'm
Okay,
very
baka hindi ko
honored.
mapanindigan. Okay, the same question I asked our previous guest. Paano ka napunta sa field ng teaching? Paano ka na-push in that direction?
Ooh, it was because of my uncle. He was an English professor. He raised me because I didn't have my parents. They both died when I was very young. So I was raised by my uncle and my lolo and lola. And since he's my father figure and he's like the foundation of our whole family, I saw him as a very strong person and I wanted to be like him. But then initially, I didn't really want to be a teacher because of the workload and the things that you had to do.
Na nakikita mo sa kanya?
Yes. Na he's always making tests. He's always checking papers. And because I was living with him, we were living with him, like the whole family was living with him, we would help him, like check the papers. So early on, I had like training already to become a teacher. I would make PowerPoints for him. I would make grades for him. So I would record the grades. I would encode it for him because he's old school, so he's not very techy. So when I was in high school, I would go to FEU and then help him with encoding grades. So that's my job. So I was
Yung
like, yeah.
early memory mo ng teaching.
Yeah. So that's my early training.
Early
from
training.
him.
But then, your childhood dream was
Was to become a marine biologist. Very
Okay.
different.
Oh, very different.
So
Very
extreme.
sciencey also.
Yeah. It's very extreme. Like, I wanted to be a marine biologist, a scientist before because of the shows that I've watched growing up. And I was very fascinated with science. I was very fascinated with life. I wanted to learn more. But then when I tried applying to different universities, I did pass BS Bio in track of LaSalle. So I was in track for marine biology, like for my master's, if ever. But then, you know, like reality hits you because my uncle was the one supporting the whole family. I can't just take everything for myself and then, you know, pay the tuition fee and everything just to support
Lalo
me.
na mahal sa Lasal.
Right? So when I started, you know, checking the possibilities of what course to take or what path to take, I talked with my uncle and then I said, maybe I can pursue education. And then he was all for it because he's a teacher, he's a professor.
You know, hearing you talk about yung pangarap mo talaga ay pagiging isang marine biologist and then you ended up choosing education kasi yun yung my scholarship. It made me realize na luxury pala talaga, no?
Yes.
Na makapamili ka ng course na talagang gusto mo.
Yes, definitely. Because it's an investment. Not just, I don't want to say that your parents are investing in you because that would just create a discourse about or a conversation about sandwich generation, which we are experiencing right now and we're trying to break, right? But for you, your education is an investment because we're not from a very affluent family or we're comfortable but not as, you know, rich as my
Hindi
classmates
mayaman, oo.
nung nasa Lasal ako, ganyan. So I still had to struggle. Education is a luxury for me and I thought of education as an equalizer. an equalizer for me, even if I'm not as rich as my classmates, as my counterparts.
It's funny. I had the same experience in high school. Galing ka bang public school?
Yes.
So, I was from public school also. Tapos, nag-high school ako sa Ateneo. And makikita mo talaga yung culture difference. From public school papuntang private school na yung tipong baon mo ng isang buwan o isang linggo.
Right? Baan lang nila ng isang araw.
Oo, or kahit pang ano lang, panggala lang, mga ganong bagay. Tapos, I remember thinking, like telling myself na kailangan kong galingan. Kailangan mataas yung grades ko kasi dito ako hindi titignan as lower.
Exactly.
Kasi in terms of pera, in terms of kung malilibre ko ba sila, talagang wala akong
talaga,
laban dyan. Minsan nga kapag lalabas sila, uy, Eastwood tayo, hindi ako makakasama.
Exactly.
Kasi mahal yung Eastwood.
Yeah.
Pamasahe pa lang papuntang Eastwood, mahal. So, doon ako bumabawi sa school. May ganun ka ba when you were studying in Lasal?
Yes, definitely. When I first met my classmates, they were very nice. They were very accommodating. And of course, we didn't know whether we're like from a rich family or not because, you know, who would ask you that, right? Who's your father? Who's your mother? What's their job, right? Who would ask you that? But as we go along, as we started classes, I saw the difference in terms of like yung gamit nila. Like the laptops, right?
And yung lifestyle also.
The lifestyle, yes. Never silang nakapag-jeep.
Oo.
Isipin mo yun.
Oo.
Yung NSTP namin, sasakay kami ng jeep.
Oo.
Pero nakarenta yung jeep.
Oo, tas excited sila, no?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna ride the jeep.
And I was like, bakit tayo naka-jeep? Nasa Lasal tayo, tapos mag-jeep tayo. Parang, that's my everyday experience. And for them, it's a weekly experience for them. And it's just an experience, not a
Parang
reality.
immersion lang.
Yeah.
Para for XP.
Yes, exactly.
Diba? Pero never ka ba nanliit? Kasi ako na-experience ko yun. Sometimes kasi they don't realize their privilege.
Yes.
Sometimes hindi nila sinasadya. They weren't even trying to be mean.
Yeah.
Pero kunyari, I'm using a phone na hindi iPhone, na hindi Apple. Tapos tatanong nila, bakit ganyan yung phone mo? They're not being mean about it. Tinatanong nila, bakit ganyan yung phone mo?
It's just the reality.
Oo.
Diba?
Nagugulat sila na bakit hindi yung mga gamit mo, hindi tulad nung sa akin.
Right.
Tapos ako, I know they're not trying to be mean, pero nanliliit ako. May ganun ka bang moments?
Ako naman, I think yung moment na na-feel ko yon is when we were introducing ourselves in front of the class and it was our first class of the year or the semester and all of them spoke straight English. Because I was from a public school. Yes, I'm good at English. That's why I took it. Diba? I liked reading. I liked presenting, performing. But then if you talk to me in a conversational manner, I can't speak like this. I would be very stiff. My accent wouldn't be as good as my accent now if I have an accent. So, and my grammar is like, tumbling and falling because, because in high school, yes, we do have English subjects. Yes, we discuss subjects in English. However,
pag nakikipag-usap
ka, Tagalog diba? Kahit sa bahay, Tagalog din naman, diba? That's our reality. But for them, it's different. For them, English comes naturally because that's what they use. And that was the only time I felt small. Because, oh my God, I'm a scholar, tapos hindi sila scholar, tapos ganun sila kagaling mag-English, tapos ako hindi ako magaling mag-English.
And it's curious because your major is English.
Yeah, right?
Buti nagtuloy ka.
How I hyped myself was that because I wasn't the best student then, I could be the student who improves.
Most improved.
Yes, most improved student. Ganyan. So, what I was thinking back then was, I need to have my Laude. Just to prove that I'm worthy of studying in this school.
Very early on, naisip ko na yung Latin honors.
And even our benefactor, kasi he would say, aim for summa, aim for summa. That's how he brainwashed us to, achieving the highest possible award that you can get. Because he was advising us to maximize everything that we can get from that school. Because you're there studying for free. Are you gonna make the most out of it? Or are you just gonna, mess up and lose that chance? Because not everybody can study in LaSalle, especially
Actually,
kids from public school or kids from our background, right?
That's true.
Baka naman sabihin nila yung public school students ganito, diba? You have to also establish that whether you're from a private school or from a public school, your performance would always depend on how you see things. Diba? If you already feel sa beginning pa lang na, ay, parang mas magaling sila sa akin, ganyan. you won't get anywhere. Diba? There's a quote that I really like. In the quote, it says, it's disrespect to call someone genius. To just think that they didn't put any hard work for what they have. So for example, you see someone very competent, someone very smart, eloquent, and performing really well. It's disrespectful to just say, ay, kasi ano yan eh, magaling kasi yan eh. Matalino kasi talaga yan eh, 'di ba? Innate na sa kanya matalino siya. No. Intelligence can be improved. Intelligence, you need to work hard for it.
Can only get you so far.
Right? 'Di ba?
But after Lasal, paano ka napunta? Ano yung mga first steps mo in your teaching career?
After Lasal, after graduating, we were offered a scholarship again for Masters. So I went straight to Masters. So I graduated 2014 September, and then I started my Masters December or January of 2015.
Ano reason? Bakit nag-Masters?
It was because our benefactor believes that it would give us a fighting chance, a better fighting chance in the industry if we get our masters. Nag-volunteer teaching kami sa public school to gain experience.
Okay.
Para nga ma-circumvent yung reason nila bakit kami ni-reject. So nag-volunteer teach kami for 2 months, 3 months, ganyan. And we were handling the lowest sections.
How was that experience?
It was, I wouldn't say life-changing, but eye-opening. Their experience is different from my experience. I was from that school as well, right? And we had the same facilities, right? But the experience, their reality is different from our reality.
In what way?
Because for us, like, if you're part of the cream section, like, the lessons come easy, right? Because your brain power is different from their brain power. I'm not saying they're dumb, no. I'm just saying that I guess the cream section, we're already prepared for the succeeding lessons. And because I think it's also because of like the prejudice or this assumption that if you're from the last section that you're not that good, right? But in actuality, it just takes a good teacher, diba, to change that perspective.
Nakakatuwa. Ipapasok ko lang na yung nakaraan namin na guest, si Teacher Rubes, na share niya na gusto niya magturo ng last sections kumpara sa mga pilot sections. Kasi mas marami kang may impart eh.
Yeah. It would really change their lives. So when we started volunteer teaching, we didn't have projectors back then when we were in high school. So we were just fortunate enough that our benefactor provided us a projector to use in that class. So as we were volunteer teaching, we had these technologies. So may PowerPoint na ako, may projector na ako. It became easier for me to teach in the public school because I was so used to using PowerPoint in Lasal kasi meron ng projector and yun yung ginagamit usually. Hindi na kami nagkakartulina, di ba? So nung nagtuturo kami as volunteer teachers, I saw how students responded with technology. Back then, because it was new to them. Never
When
na
you were a
nagamit.
student, wala yun?
Wala yun. Wala kaming projector, hindi namin ginagamit yun sa classes namin. Usually books and then cartolina, di ba? Papasulat
Manila
sa board, Manila paper, di ba? Reporting, ganyan, pen and paper test. But then when we started introducing like technology to them, like using PowerPoint, they were really surprised. Like they were in awe because, you know, their expectations, because they're from a lower section, that they wouldn't have access to those kinds of technology. But because we were fortunate enough to touch their lives or to be part of their education, we were able to introduce, okay, hindi naman porket nandito kayo sa lower section is you're not gonna be able to experience these kinds of teaching, diba? Education, ganyan. So it was very fun that we educators, we teachers, we do care for you. We are here for you. We can't do this alone. You have to help yourselves as well. Parang ganon. It's like us giving them or reaching a hand to them. Parang ganon.
Ito question. Tingin mo ba, mahalaga pa ang Latin honors? Does it really give you an edge or is it just romanticized sobra sa mga estudyante? Kasi when I was studying also, merong ganyan eh. Nakapag-Laude ka, makakakuha ka ng trabaho ng mabilis. Trabaho pa ang hahabol sa'yo. Do you think that's true? You graduated Magna?
Yes.
Up here!
Yes? Okay.
Up here, okay.
So, well, in my case, yes. It really
Talaga?
changed my life, yeah. It really changed my life for the better. Because when I applied for FEU Senior High School, they looked at that, and then it was also, it impresses. It impresses the employers. It impresses the human resource, personnel or employees or managers. Okay, but a Latin honor can only get you so far. It's just giving you the opportunity to put your foot on the door.
Gets you noticed.
Yes, gets you noticed, right? Kasi on top of everything else, ang daming mag-a-apply niyan eh. Diba? Isipin mo, hundreds of applicants, diba? Thousands of applicants. Okay, what would make you stand out? Your Latin honor.
Papasok.
Yes. But then there's a misconception with Latin honors as well. Kasi if your employers would think, you're a Latin honor, then you can do everything like without any guidance or without any instructions because you did well in school, diba? But that's not true. Whenever someone mentions, magna cum laude ka naman, kaya mo na yan. No. Being a magna cum laude doesn't mean I can do everything or I know everything. What it means is, even if I don't know something, I know how to get that information or I know how to accomplish it.
Right.
It's not my intelligence that's being tested or being measured. It's actually my skill to perform the job.
Gano'ng katagal sa FEU?
Almost 2 years.
Matagal.
Yes, almost 2 years.
Okay, tapos after FEU?
After FEU, I decided to go abroad. So I applied for a position as a native English teacher in Japan. So
Bakit Japan?
it's my dream country. Yeah, growing
Understandable.
up, right? Growing up, I grew up with anime, and anime inspired me a lot. There are characters there who didn't have parents, but they were the main characters. So I was mirroring that story. I wanted to be them. So even if I don't have parents, I will be the main character in my life. Parang ganun. So I wanted to experience the life in Japan. I wanted to teach there. I wanted to explore the what do you call this? The sceneries or like the
life.
Yeah, the places that I saw in anime, diba? In real life.
Nakita mo eh.
Diba? I couldn't imagine being able to do that while working in the Philippines. I could never. I mean, I was basically living from paycheck to paycheck then. And we were renting.
Nandito ka pa.
Yeah. Oh my God. First job. First job as a teacher. Of course, if it's your first job, you wouldn't expect to get a very high salary, right? So I was living paycheck to paycheck. I even got an investment. I even got a condo with that salary. So,
Talaga? Paano mo napagkasya? Ang mahal ng monthly sa condo.
Yeah, my ex-boyfriend back then, my boyfriend back then, my ex-boyfriend now, we share the condo. Yeah, we got it together. So, of course, the monthly is half.
Ate,
Yeah. So, and then that's when I realized, okay, this job doesn't pay me that much.
Kaya ka nag-Japan.
Yeah, I love my job. I love my students. I mean, I think they can see if a teacher or a professor loves what they do, right? It would show. It would just show it. So I loved what I was doing in the Philippines back then in FEU High School. Then I realized, okay, this is not enough for me to survive. It's not enough for me to start a family. It's not enough for me to save. So when an agency got back to me for my application to Japan, I grabbed it. The first year of teaching in senior high school, I already applied.
Sa Japan.
Sa Japan.
Okay.
I was interviewed and they were asking me to come back for a demo. But then I wanted to see my students graduate.
Sa senior high.
Yeah, my first advisory class ever, I wanted to see them graduate. So I was like, okay, this is not yet the time for me. I got attached to them. So the next year, the first semester of that year, I decided, okay, I need to go. I can't wait for them to graduate anymore. I'll just maybe come back when they graduate and then visit them. Ganyan.
Iba din kasi, no? Parang your passion could only get you so far. Minsan talaga kailangan mo din maging practical.
Yes.
Kailangan mo din isipin yung sarili mo.
In this economy and this inflation, we can't really just... I mean, there are jobs that will pay you well if it's your passion to do it and it pays well, then that's good, diba? It's a win-win situation.
That's ideal.
That's ideal. That's the ideal situation. I think that also pressured me to seek other opportunities.
That's why you went to Japan.
Yes.
So 2 years ka doon?
3.
3 years?
3.
Tapos bumalik ka dito?
Yes. When I got back, I was so exhausted because I was teaching babies to adults.
Sa Japan?
Yes, I was teaching babies to adults. That's the only difficult thing. That was the only thing that made it difficult for me to teach there. I was teaching babies to adults. So every single day, I would meet different students. And every day, I can get as many as 8 classes in a day straight, or 5 classes, 2 classes in a day. So it depends on your schedule, and it depends on the number of students you have in the school. And then the only struggle I had was to how I would adjust how I speak and how I
Depende
teach.
sa kung ano edad.
Yes. And also, they are EFL learners. So, they learn English as a foreign language. Unlike here in the Philippines, we already know
ESL.
English. Yes. Second language natin yung English. So, here, it's easier to teach students English just because I was teaching in the high school level and then the collegiate level. They have a very strong foundation or understanding of how to use the English language. We just need to tweak and improve some parts. But in Japan, there are students who do not have
From scratch.
Yes, from scratch talaga. From zero talaga. So I had to adjust how I speak. I speak very fast. Like when I teach, I speak very fast because my brain works very fast. If I start speaking slowly, I would lose my train of thoughts. So that was my struggle then. How should I pace myself so that my students would understand me? And I think that made me a better teacher, that experience, because I now know that not everybody has the same capacity or capability or skill or same level.
One of the best teachers na na-encounter ko, bago sila magturo, they connect first.
Yes. That's very important. Dati, when it was my first year teaching, I would, because my personality, I would really want to know the students, but not on this level now. Because now I try to ask them about their life, how they're doing, are they okay, ganyan, if they're suffering from anything, ganyan. But before, I would just proceed to the lessons. Okay, today, the lesson is this. Okay, how are you? Ganun lang. How are you? Okay, good kayo. Sige, lesson na tayo, ganyan. But then after my experience in Japan, I learned that it's very important to connect with your students
First, before you
first.
teach.
Yes, because they know Japanese. I'm not very good at Japanese. I know English. They're not very good in English.
So where do we meet?
Yes. And I would have to put myself in that situation, right? Put myself in their shoes. Would I want my Japanese teacher to speak very fast? Would I want my Japanese teacher to translate some of the words in English? Would I want my Japanese teacher to use English words in Japanese sentences so that I wouldn't understand? Ganyan. So now I'm thinking like a student. So
You're putting yourself in their shoes.
Yes.
So, these are things na nadala mo pagbalik mo sa Pilipinas.
Yes.
What did you do when you got back?
When I got back, because I was very exhausted in teaching classes like every day, I wanted to change things up.
Okay.
I wanted to change careers. So because, I can't be a doctor, I have to study again. I can't be a marine biologist because, I can't take up an opportunity that's not for me because I don't have any background with that. So I wanted to become a flight attendant before when I was
Interesting.
in high school, and because they're pretty, like the glamorous life.
I feel ko lahat ng mga Filipino girls dumadaan sa ganyang phase na gusto maging flight attendant. Ako din.
Diba?
Oo.
Kasi when you look at them, they're like so pretty.
And
Ang
put
ganda.
together.
Yeah.
And
they're
demure.
Cutesy. Demure. They're so sweet. They speak very soft. They try to like take care of you during your flight. And if it's your first ever flight, then that's a friendly friendly face in the crowd.
So,
diba?
sinubukan mo maging FA?
Sinubukan ko siya. And I was, I had this insecurity kasi hindi naman ako like flawless. I have scars on my legs, ganyan. And the notion of becoming a flight attendant was beyond me. Kasi, ano ba yan? Flight attendant ka, may sugat ka, or may peklat ka, ganyan. But then, I was like, okay, I'll never know unless I try.
So, nag-apply ka?
Nag-apply ako. Kapal na mukha ko. But
Hindi, kailangan ng ganyan sa buhay. Kailangan ng ganyan sa buhay. Palakasan lang ng loob.
Because, diba, you don't want to regret the opportunities that you did not
At
take.
sinubukan mo, di ba?
At least sinubukan ko.
Subconsciously, merong age tayo na sineset sa sarili natin na by this age, alam mo na dapat yung ginagawa mo. Alam mo na dapat kung ano yung gusto mong gawin. But at 27, and you mentioned now, both of us, we're not really coming from an affluent background. So, mahal mag-change ng career.
Exactly.
And it's a risk. Di ba? Pero ikaw, pinili mo siyang gawin.
I actually didn't think about that.
Ginawa mo lang.
Ginawa ko lang siya. I didn't think that it would cost me so much. Like, in terms of mental, physical, and then financial. I didn't think it would cost me that much. But it did. It did cost me that much. When I passed the interview, when we were given the contract, and we signed the contract on the day itself, I was so excited. I couldn't sleep. I was like just so happy because I was thinking, I'm lucky to be here. Even if I get in or not, I'm just lucky to be here. I tried, ganyan. And then when I started training, I just felt it wasn't for me. I just felt that, okay, ito na naman ako, magsastart na naman ako into a new company. Will I stay here? Do I like how I feel when I enter the doors of this company? Ganyan.
So, tumuloy ka dun sa part-time mo? Teaching?
So, ang nangyari, nung karoon kami ng schedule for the training, dun naman nag-email sa FEU. Na you're invited for an interview. And then, after that interview, I was offered a job. I was offered to teach for I believe it was the first semester of that school year. So
that's your job now?
Yeah, that's my job.
So, ilang taon ka na sa FEU?
1 year.
Matagal na. Matagal-tagal na sa FEU.
2 semesters na ako. This is my 3rd.
May gano'n ka bang experience na, okay, dito na ako sa teaching. You tried yung pagiging FA. Na-experience mo ba yung ganyang moment na realization na dito na talaga ako, ito yung calling ko, or are you still looking for that?
I feel most comfortable teaching. I think this is a job, or this is the job that I can perform my best. And I also know that I'm a good teacher, basically. And my students, I'm fortunate to have students. My students, I know, would also feel fortunate to have me as their teacher. Ganyan. So, in a long-term perspective, like, would I stay in teaching? Would I forever teach? If I stay in FEU, yes. I see myself staying in FEU. Yes.
Interesting for me. Kasi, I don't know, maybe I'm just idealistic, pero meron akong notion na kapag tamang isang bagay para sa'yo, it's gonna feel like fireworks. It's gonna feel like a click. Pero it's interesting that for you, yung click na yon comes in the form of peace and comfort.
Yeah. Whenever they ask me, what's your definition of success? Ganyan. Kasi yun na yung lagi ngayon tinatanong sa mga millennials who's working for a long time na, for 10 years maybe. They would ask us, do you have the same definition of success as you did back then? Because before, my definition of success would have me having a house, having a car, ganyan, being financially independent and everything.
And now?
But now, for me, being successful means you can have slow mornings, you enjoy what you do, you're at peace, you have good friends, you're surrounded by people who know you and who appreciate your company. That's now my definition of success.
But I want to deep dive on your teaching career. Bilang 1 year ka na sa FEU, tama?
Yes.
What are you like as a prof? Kasi may iba't ibang klase ng prof. May terror prof, may prof na parang tropa mo. Ikaw, paano ka bilang prof?
With my personality, I don't think being a terror professor would work for me.
Okay.
Because I understand the idea behind terror professors. I understand the idea because you have to whip them into shape. Diba? For some, they think fear is needed for someone to work.
To learn.
Diba? To learn, to work, and to do something or to accomplish things.
But for you?
For you. But for me, it's not like that. For me, I think being someone who they can open up to, someone who they can rant to, maybe, or someone that they would feel comfortable with and they would enjoy the company of in the classroom.
Paano mo sinastrike yan? Kasi you're very young. You look very young also. And you are teaching in a university. So medyo hindi ganun kalaki yung difference in terms of age. Ilan taon na ba mga estudyante ngayon? 22, ganyan. And you're in your 20s also, di ba?
Yes.
So, Ano yung advantage, disadvantage na ang lapit ng age mo dun sa mga tinuturuan mong estudyante at paano mo yun ino-overcome?
I think it was never a problem to me because my students, I would always look at them as kids, as students.
Kahit university students?
Yes. I would never think of them in another way. I would never look at them as an equal. Parang ganon. I mean, for lack of better term, I would never look at them as someone whom I would be interested in.
Right.
In terms of like dating. Because that's not what you're supposed to do there. Diba? You're supposed to be there to guide them, not build a romantic relationship with them, right? And I know it happens, diba? I've heard a lot of stories where student would end up with their teachers. Ganon, diba? But it's just something that I don't want to entertain and I wouldn't entertain at all. Basically, try to maintain a friendly vibe in the classroom, but not too friendly that you would be given a chance or the opportunity to ask me out or hit me, hit on me. Ganyan. I would never give them that impression.
Pero meron kang experience na ganyan? Na merong nag-try o...
Nag-try in like asking me out like in
na student?
In a very like casual manner. Wala naman because I know I try to maintain an authority in the classroom, but a student who catcalled me, yes.
Goodness.
Yes. I'm not sure if he's like aware that I was a teacher back then and he was like a student. I mean, I was a teacher back then and then he catcalled me. I wasn't sure whether he was aware. But even if he's aware or not, it's...
Mali pa rin.
Yes, mali pa rin talaga. Catcalling someone just because you think they're like, they won't talk back or, diba, papalampasin lang nila. That's wrong. And catcalling in general is wrong. Diba? Yun yung experience ko with a student hitting on me.
Yeah. Pero hindi mo nakikita bilang disadvantage na malapit yung age mo sa age ng mga estudyante mo?
Not necessarily, no. Yeah. Even when I was teaching in the senior high school, that was my first job. And I was, 20, 21, and they were, 16? 15 or 16? No. They were 17 and 18 back then.
Senior high.
So the gap was closer then, right? But never really passed I never really thought of that.
Best and worst experiences?
In teaching?
Yes.
Best and worst experience? Best experience would be being appreciated by the students. My advisory class before, I only had one advisory class in my entire career as a teacher.
Sa senior high
Sa senior high to. And they were very sweet. They were very kind. Of course, yun sa high school, pag birthday ng teacher mo, ganyan.
Teacher's Month.
Oo, di ba? May pa-surprise kayo. Kunyari, may nagsuntukan sa classroom. Ganyan.
Suntukan.
Usually, that's how they get you. Parang, miss, nagsuntukan si ganito or nag-away si ganito, punta ka sa classroom. Ganyan,
tapos
para pigilan
biglang,
sila.
thank you. May cake.
Hindi ba nga yung ganong kanta, parang, ano yan? Ang awit. Yan, Constantino, di ba? I think that's the best experience I had in teaching where I just feel appreciated for the things that I do for them as well. The worst experience would be...
Maliban siguro dun sa catcalling.
Paperwork.
Madaming paperwork.
I experienced staying in school until 12 midnight just to check papers. And it's not giving work-life balance.
Bayad ba yun?
No.
Ay, hindi.
It's not. We're salaried. So, every month we receive the same amount.
No matter kung hanggang anong oras ka
Yes.
nagtatrabaho.
May deductions pa yun pag late ka. Syempre. Diba? But no additional for overtime. We don't have overtime. Because basically what they're saying is, it's your first job. You're supposed to get about 15 to 18,000, but you're getting more than that. So, basically, we're paying overtime even if you don't do overtime. Ganon. Ganon siya. So, we don't have overtime as teachers.
How about benefits?
Benefits, I haven't experienced being a regular employee here in the Philippines.
So right now,
I'm a full-time tenured track faculty. That means I'm on track to become a regular faculty
pero kailan pa?
after 3 years.
Ah.
So 2 years pa.
Bakit ang tagal?
In teaching, ganun talaga. In private schools, for new teachers out there, for private schools, you would need to stay with the school for 3 years to be
Bago
a
ka
regular
ma-regular.
teacher. Yes.
For public,
Diretso na yan. It's a plantilla item, so regular ka na agad.
that's for university.
for university and also high school and elementary school, plantili item talaga yung tinitignan.
And regularization takes 3 years. Ang tagal.
Yes.
Ano yung difference kapag regular ka? Ano yung mga nakukuha mo, hindi mo nakukuha? Kapag regular at kapag hindi?
For example, medical benefits.
Ah.
Like medical insurance. And then FU is very generous when it comes to their regular employees. You get allowances, like rice allowance, I think, and then the bonuses as well. And then if you're, I think, teaching excellence award, there's that award where you get compensated for that. You get a certain amount of money. Ganyan. And then if you're wearing glasses, you have, I think, 10,000 pesos worth of,
Ay, may ganun.
Mm-mm. So, maraming
Pero
benefits.
depende din per school. Hindi siya mandated na kailangan may ganito.
Yes, I believe so, yeah. I think it depends on the school what they will give you as like benefits or allowances, ganyan.
Do you see that as an issue ng pagiging isang teacher? Dapat ba hindi ganon?
Well, ideally, it shouldn't take that long to become a regular, faculty. But we're talking about the private industry here or the private sector here. Of course, even though it's a school, it's still a business, right? And you have to show commitment. Because there are times, private schools kasi, they can employ teachers who do not have yung wala pang lisensya, pwede nilang i-employ. And then, most of the time, the teachers, for first-time teachers, they take that as a stepping stone to join the public schools kasi mas maraming ang benefits sa public school and then regular ka na. Ganyan. So, I think that's also one way of the private school telling us na if you want to stay here, if you want to become a regular faculty and to bask in this kind of like benefits, you have to show commitment. You need to show loyalty as well. Ganyan. Are you going to stay here? Are you going to spend 3 years of your life working for us?
Bakit prefer mo ang private over public school? You've experienced magturo sa public school.
I've experienced teaching as a volunteer teacher, but not an actual, teacher who grades them, right?
Oo.
Sometimes, parang kasi nung volunteer teachers kami, substitute teacher lang ako.
Oo.
Parang ganon.
Pero bakit private school ka parang tend?
I think it's just easier for me to be in that setting, in that setup. For me, that gives me more opportunity, more avenue to better my teaching style and to actually give quality education to students. Ganon. Sa public schools, very limited yung resources mo. Sometimes you have to buy it yourselves.
Oo.
Diba?
Oo nga, narinig ka namin na minsan kailangan yan.
Yeah. You have to buy it yourself. So, for example, walang projector yung pool, tapos gusto mo, naka-PowerPoint kayo, may video presentation sila, diba? You have to sometimes shell out. Yeah. And that's, I think, a lot of my public school teachers, they're awesome. Like, I love them so much. They taught me well. They taught me so much that I was able, without them, I wouldn't be me right now. I'm very grateful for what they did for me back then. I was a very shy student when I was in high school. So, them giving me the opportunity to shine, I'm very grateful for that. Ganon.
So, generally, mas mataas ang sweldo kapag nagtuturo ka sa university compared to basic education?
Yes, definitely. Well, it would also depend on your rank. So, may ranking kasi sa university. So, you can be a lecturer, you can be a professor, you can be an assistant professor, an associate professor. So, there are different levels. The salary, the compensation would depend on your rank.
Akala ko may pahabol na kwento pa yun. Nag-aantay ako ng pahabol na kwento eh. Like, okay. So, sa ganitong rank, akala ko may ganun pa. Okay. How about misconceptions? Kasi, I think you mentioned na maraming misconception about being a professor in college. Ano yung mga misconception na yan?
I think like people saying it's a walk in the park, ganun. Maybe if the park is Jurassic Park, yes. But misconceptions about teaching in a university, they would think it's like easy. It's easier than, teaching in the high school level or in the elementary level. But there's a certain level of difficulty as well in teaching in the university level because you have to be libraries away from your students. Diba? You have to be more advanced. You have to know how to access information more than them. Diba? I think that's a misconception. Relatively, the workload is easier. Yes, because currently I'm only handling 3 sections right now, and I only go to school 4 days a week. Ganyan. If you compare it to the high school and the elementary level, they have to go to school every single day, and they have to meet the students every single day as well, right? But for me, I meet them twice a week. But then I have to prepare everything for them. The lessons, the courses, the CIB, the course information booklet, whatever the course will be about, it's all on me. So whatever,
Hindi siya tulad kapag elementary na merong
may given na. May lesson plan na, meron ng mga topics to discuss.
so may trade-off.
Yes.
In terms of
course.
schedule, mas flexible kapag university, but sa load ng teacher, magkaiba.
Yes.
So, preference din talaga siya. Gets.
I mean, a lot of teachers would like to teach, would like to try teaching in the university, I'm sure. There's comfort din kasi in teaching in the high school level and the elementary level eh. Kasi it's repetitive, diba? Every single year, that's what you teach, right? But in university, it's different. The courses in the university, the subjects that we teach in the university, they sometimes change. They get dissolved or they get changed into something else. So we have to prepare for that as well, diba? So for example, they want to create a new course. Who will create that course? Of course, the faculty.
Sa inyo pala yun, kayo yung may
Yes.
salunod. Nakakatuwa, no? Kasi makikita mo yung iba't ibang flavors ng different types of teachers. We had, again, a guest na galing sa public school teaching elementary, junior high school students. Tapos, dito, private school, university. So, may iba't ibang flavor. Nakakatawa.
Yep.
Iba't ibang perspectives. What do you think yung biggest issues na kinakaharap ng professors? College professors? In the Philippines, especially.
I think not only college professors, but all the teachers in the Philippines were currently facing a dilemma in terms of trying to compensate for the skills that were not taught beforehand to the students. Do you guys know the policy of DepEd where no student is left behind?
Okay.
So everybody should, move up to the next level. Parang wala ka dapat ibabagsak, ganyan. So it's not the idea of no student left behind. It's not passing the students even though they don't pass the subject or they don't achieve certain skills to move up to another level. That's not the intention of DepEd. The original intention was to make an effort to make sure that even though the students are struggling, you help them more. You create remedial lessons, you ask them to attend extra classes, ganyan. But then, hindi naman kaya ng lahat ng teachers na gawin yun. Kasi yung workload sobrang laki na. Isipin mo sa public school, you're teaching 50 students in one class. How many classes do you have in a day? Diba? If you get 4 classes, that's 200 students, diba? In one day. Tapos i-meet mo sila every single day. And then, do you think you still have time to check and also create a remedial program for them? So that's the problem that we're currently facing because they don't want to, although they want to help the students achieve certain skills to move on to another level, they just pass the students. They just let the students move to another level even though there are literacy skills that aren't met yet. So that's somehow a struggle for us. Like in the university level, we're supposed to employ or use the student-centered learning pedagogy.
Ano naman tong student-centered learning?
So student-centered learning gives more opportunities for the students to take a hold of their education.
Okay.
How they learn, how they want to learn, and how they process information, their pacing as well. So a lot of the privileges are given to the students. For example, they can choose their schedule, they can choose their professors, who they want, who they don't want, ganyan. In a student-centered learning setup, the emphasis or the importance is given to the students. Okay, the student learning, basically. So for us teachers, it's not the traditional way of teaching where you give a lecture. You just expect the students to listen to you and then comprehend everything, and then you just give them a pen and paper test and then that's it. No, the pedagogy is different. In a student-centered learning, you introduce tasks. You introduce scenarios, real-life scenarios that they can apply the abstract ideas that you're discussing in the classroom, not just coming from you, but you're also getting input from them.
And ipaprocess nila yun themselves.
Yes.
Although, meron akong naisip, hindi ba siya very Western? Kasi kunyari, sure, you are given, for example, student A, student B, parehas na task binigay mo sa kanila. Pero sa student A, meron siyang the luxury na meron siyang ganitong gadgets, meron siyang ganitong resources. Paano kapag itong si student B ay hindi galing sa ganun kaaluan na background? Paano yun?
I mean, they have their own realities, and those realities play a role in their interpretation and comprehension of certain abstract ideas, right? So we take that into consideration as well, and we encourage that difference as well. And it also gives them an idea that, you know, even though we're studying in the same school, we're different. And that's okay. That's okay. So in terms of, if you're talking about maybe if I ask them to create a video, for example, to edit a video, and then one student doesn't have a laptop, diba? Yung mga editing tools, ganyan. In that situation, we would encourage collaborative learning. So cooperative and collaborative learning, where we group them into certain number of groups, or each group would have certain number of people, and we would make sure that each group would have a laptop for editing. They would have the tools to accomplish it.
With all this, what advice would you give sa mga aspiring o mga nag-iisip na maging teacher, probably college professor, mga nag-iisip, what advice or
Sigurado
tips ang mabibigay mo?
I don't want to burst your bubble, but if you're very ideal in terms of your ways on how you want students to learn and how you want to teach, you have to adjust. You have to make sure that you're learning as well. When you become a teacher, that doesn't mean you stop learning. You have to continuously learn. You have to learn, unlearn, and relearn things that would make you a better individual. Not just a professional, but a better individual. So if you stick with what you learned in the past and not try to accommodate or entertain new ideas, you will not be a successful teacher. Because times are changing. A lot of it's very fast-paced, and information.
Age of technology also.
Yeah, information just comes and goes. Sometimes it gets verified. Sometimes it gets debunked and everything. So you have to learn in school. Learn as much as you can. When you apply it in the industry, you have to unlearn some things and then relearn a lot of things. So that's my advice. Always keep an open mind.
Do you have any regrets in your journey so far?
As a teacher, so far, wala naman. Siguro, teaching for me is a comfortable place. It's my comfort zone, kumbaga. It has become my comfort zone because I love what I do. I love seeing students learn, and I love interacting with them. So far, no regrets. Maybe if the salary goes up, or if we get compensated better, a lot of our teachers abroad, teaching abroad, would come back to the Philippines.
Anong dream mo for teachers in the Philippines at sa overall educational system ng Pilipinas? Maliban dun sa, syempre, better compensation. Yan po ang ating wish this Teachers Month.
I think overall, we have really good quality teachers in the Philippines. Diba? We have very good teachers. It's just that we need to make them stay for the sake of our students as well, for the sake of the future, members of the society. And I hope everybody, like all the teachers, would try to keep an open mind with things that are comfortable with them. For example, the concept of utang na loob, the concept of like familial love. You shouldn't be pushing your own principles to the students. They need to decide for themselves. You're there to guide them, not to indoctrinate them. So I think that's something that that needs to change, I guess.
What's next for you? Ang dami mong napagdaanan since 2014, graduate ka 10 years ago. What's next for you?
What's next?
How do you see yourself the next few years bilang isang teacher, as an individual, as a career woman, as a Kayod queen?
I'm hoping to land a different job, although I'm very grateful for where I am right now. I'm still looking for other opportunities in the Philippines and outside the Philippines. I want to pursue my doctorate degree, not just for me, but also to, for my students, because I don't want to just teach them teach them the same things that I learned in the past during my bachelor's or master's degree. I think I really need to start my PhD. So maybe, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of like time and effort and energy to study again. And yeah, I think that's what's next for me.
And we wish you the best of luck, Jaan. Thank you so much and happy Teachers Month, Miss Chan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's an honor.
And a privilege.
Very ka-trio, nag-agree ka dun, ah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
too.
you.